kick on. All right, welcome. Heatwave Podcast, Episode 8. We have a very special guest with us today. We're joined by RobTheTurtle. Rob, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? Good morning, dude.
Good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. So I know you're on a bit of a timeline. Are you playing in a tournament today?
Nah, just part of me like not having to be a competitive Halo player is that I actually get to see my family and do
Oh god!
things on the
Oh
weekend.
gosh, you do. Oh my god. Okay. Well, we're gonna get this moving then. So we're
That's
not
cool.
okay. We're not involved in taking away from your family time. All right. So let's start. So we're gonna start with just kind of the beginning of your career, just to touch on that, how you got started, and then we're kind of gonna. We talked about it before the show, but we're gonna go into like basically like a little bit before Anaheim, and then how that all played out for you. So do you want to go ahead and like basically how'd you get started with competitive Halo?
It's an interesting story because I've played Halo my entire life. My cousins had Halo 1, Halo 2. Um, I've told a lot of people this, but it's just like I'm 29 turning 30. So like I was kind of like the perfect age to be able to play Halo 2 online. Um, but pretty much I happened to grow up in a very, very strict household, that was very, very stringent regarding gaming and the internet and things of that nature. So it was funny because my cousins actually got Halo 2. They had broadband internet, they had Xbox Live, they had a mic, and then pretty much my family and his family came together and was just like, the risk of online gaming, there's too many unknowns, we don't know who they're dealing with, and so they pretty much barred us from playing online Halo 2, which was a little rough to hear as a kid, you know. So we just played split screen and we had fun or whatever. And then in that time period, I was a really big Nintendo gamer, and I got this game for the Nintendo DS called Metroid Prime Hunters, which was like the only like Metroid game that had multiplayer and it had online, and my parents just didn't realize I could play online video games on my Nintendo DS. So that's how I got into competitive gaming. I started playing that game, going on forums. I ended up like really getting into the competitive scene, like pretty much becoming one of the best players as like 12, 13-year-old kid. So I was really into competitive gaming from from a young age, and playing that game. There were players who played Halo 2 competitively who also played that game. So I got to meet people, and it was about in 2007 that these guys told me like, yeah, there's this whole competitive professional scene for Halo. This was of course referring to Major League Gaming. So in 2007, I discovered Major League Gaming, and I was like dumbfounded by it. I thought it was like the most incredible thing ever. I loved watching it. I loved watching the pros play. And I really lamented the fact that I couldn't play like Halo 2 multiplayer. So like on the lead up, on the build up to Halo 3, I kind of went on a crusade with my parents to be like, you kind of got to let me play Halo 3. And for the most part, I kind of lost that battle. I did end up getting an Xbox 360. I did play a lot of Halo 3. I was a matchmaking kid. I got to like a 50 and all the playlists and everything, but I was still in high school, and I again like was under extremely stringent and strict restrictions on how much I could play. I could not play during the weekdays my entire time in high school. I was frequently grounded from playing on the weekends, so like I really didn't get to play too much. But even though I definitely had a knack for it, I loved playing GB. I got into GB 1v1 and 2v2s at that time. And then like on the build up to Halo Reach, I was turning like 19 going into college, and I was just like sick and tired of being forcefully shut out from the competitive community, and I was just like, I'm not going to let it happen this time. Like I am going to get to an event. So it was like in the beginning of Halo Reach, I was grinding, I was in college, and then it wasn't until like halfway through that first Halo Reach 2011 season that I finally like met people that were good enough to be able to go to. I had gone to a local in NJ Halo and met a couple decent players there, and ended up putting a team together for Raleigh 2011. And got like fifth or sixth round at my first event, but I had like the greatest time ever. And it really just inspired me to that like competing in tournaments was something that I love to do. So then it was pretty much at my second event that I kind of like got a name in the community. One, because obviously think that people find it really, really funny that my name is RobTheTurtle. And it kind of became a meme in the community. But like at this my second event, which was Providence 2011, which was like the national champs for that 2011 season, I went into the event with a team with literally 0 points. We literally had no points whatsoever, and we matched the number one AM seed, which I guess would be like the 17th seed in the tournament, right? Because there's the top 16 pros, and then like the 17th would be the number one AM, which was like the Kleiners team. They were known as Cyber Bullies. They had been placing really well throughout the 2011 season, hence them being the 17th seed. And like we end up like going in there and like beating them, and that's kind of like what kind of like put me on, like, just landed me a name in the community. Essentially, was winning that series and making it out of AM against a team that, like, on paper was marginally better than us. Um, so that's kind of like where I got into the scene, and then, as we know, it was kind of a shitty time to get into the scene, right? Because, like, that was kind of like the end of Halo Reach, right? We had one more event in Columbus 2012. But then kind of we entered those dark days where we're all playing Halo 4, attending AGL events, which I actually did go to a couple of them. I kept the flame alive, but that's kind of how I got into the competitive scene.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I definitely didn't even realize that that we're about the same age. So I didn't have quite the experience that you had as far as my parents probably should have been monitoring how much I was playing a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so I do have you ever thought to yourself, like, man, if they would have let me play, like, when.
Probably over a million times.
Oh, okay. I was like, I feel like that would probably come into my head, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. The timing, and this has kind of been like the sad story of my Halo career. Like, the timing has just really bad for me. Um, there's never been a time that I've competed, literally my entire life, that I haven't even either been a full time student or a full time worker. I
Wow.
have I have never just played Halo, and I don't feel bad about that. I don't regret my decision whatsoever. I have like I have degrees and a nice career, and I own a house now because of it. But you only have so much to give. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
And the reality is when you're only giving 50 because you only have 50 to give, and you're going up against dudes who are giving 100,
Yeah.
it's tough.
No, I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a follow up, Ed?
Um,
Oh, sorry,
Not really, to be honest. I
I
feel
didn't mean to
like
put you on the spot. I
oh,
thought you were about to say
no,
something.
you're fine, you're
Okay.
fine. I feel like you touched on
So
a lot.
Ed, you run the HCS Intel account.
He's just headline. No, not
Line.
Intel. I'm
Okay,
not
Intel's a
there right
different
now.
guy. Gotcha.
Yeah. He's not competition, no. No, I don't really see it as a
Get that
competition. I
out
just see
there.
it as it's a free for all,
Um,
really.
so Rob, like, so first of all, I think we need to have you back, man, because I feel like we could just talk about like those years, like this entire time. Like, I'm already
Yeah, man.
like, so
Interested?
yeah, so I think I'd definitely like to have you back. Since we have you for a short period of time, and I don't want to take away from your family, we're gonna go to
To the recent events,
yeah, to
current
the
day.
recent events, because honestly, when we first found out that it was a possibility to have you on the show, it was actually before you had announced your retirement. And my
Mhm.
biggest question for you was going to be like, hey, how are you? How are you like you have a full-time career? How are you balancing that, man? Like, that must be insane.
It I'll kind of go back to, like, before Infinite came out. I've been really good friends with Triton for a number of years. Before Triton ever competed, I found him online and we made an online team. And unfortunately, I kind of made some team decisions that, like, I now regret, where I chose to not team with him towards the beginning of Halo 5, and it really came back to bite me in the ass because he ended up excelling and really taking off as a Halo 5 player. Um, and so, like, our paths just never actually crossed for we played each other at one tournament, which is fun. He says to this day that anytime he killed someone on my team, he just screamed Rob, regardless if he's playing or not. Just to get mad. Um, but so I never ended up teaming with him in Halo 5, and then he kind of quit towards the end of Halo 5 because of the relationship that he was in and just where he was in his life. And then in that in between time period between H5, well, one, he just didn't really like Halo 3, so he didn't really play Throwback Halo 3. He played a little bit, we played together, but he just wasn't. He really wasn't about it. But then when they had those online H2A and Halo Reach tournaments, we started teaming again, and we did pretty well, honestly, playing on those online cups together with a couple different players. And then we went to that Reach event, the Throwback Reach event, right before COVID happened, and we got top 12, and we played pretty well against the pros that beat us. So we kind of knew, like, we're right there. We just got to kind of get past this hump. And so, because of the success we had playing against a lot of pros, like before Infinite came up, we were like, all right, let's set a team. Let's stick to it. Let's really try to grow and not play musical chairs in the first month or two, because that's going to, like, hold us back from actually learning the game if we're constantly having to worry about our roster. Um, so going into Infinite, we kind of like had built a roster, but then 343 to us and just released the game a month early and just, like, you know, when you're adults trying to play in a Halo team and everyone has jobs and things, and the game comes out a month early, and there are cups the weekend the game comes out, like
Yeah.
it's extremely difficult to work around that. We had to one of our players just couldn't VTech. He just because of his work responsibilities, like, I can't just take off on the weekends spontaneously. Um, so we replaced him with Musa, who was a teammate of Triton through Halo 5. I teamed with him in Halo 5 in the beginning too. And we did really, really well the first cup. You know, like that first cup, there was 512 teams, but there were like hundreds more who just didn't even get in. That first cup was like super, super hype, and we got top 12. We actually even had like the god tier bracket to get potentially
Was
top 6.
sorry to interrupt you. Was
Yeah.
Hysteria still your fourth at that time?
No, we were not teaming with Hysteria.
Oh,
So it
okay.
was so like the team we wanted was me, Triton, VTech, and and Winter.
Okay.
Winter we had played with in online Halo 2 anniversary tournaments, and we did really well with them. And then VTech was a player that Triton had a lot of success with in Halo 5, so that was going to be the team. Um, VTech's work schedule couldn't work, so we had to replace him with Musa. So then it was me, Triton, Musa, and Winter. And like I said, we got top 12, which put us in a really, really good position because that first cup is always the most important, right? Because everyone has 0 points, and then it establishes the hierarchy, which then like leads in or like the brackets afterwards. So it put us in a really good position. Unfortunately, our teammate Musa had a different opinion and thought that we were terrible and kind of freaked out on us and left our team and just didn't compete after that, despite us being in such a good situation. So then what did we do? We had Musa. Oh, we replaced him with HunterJJX. That's what we do. And then JJX was teaming with Hysteria, and it's actually really funny because I said this to Hysteria that he was like one of my favorite players in Classic Halo 3 when I was as a kid in high school, like watching Halo 3 as it was for a lot of us because he was, pretty much clearly one of the best players in old school Halo 3 MLG days. Um, and he was a pro player in Reach. He was a pro player in H2A. He even really did very well in the beginning of Halo 5. So JGX was kind of like a team with Hysteria, and I was like, well, that's doesn't sound like a terrible idea. So we made the decision, which was kind of tough, to replace Winter with Hysteria. But on top of Hysteria being, a legend and in his own right, it just also had a lot to do with like, orgs help the scene, but also complicate the scene. We really wanted to get a good organization. Triton really wanted this to be his full-time job. Me, not
Yeah.
so much, but I'm just in it for my boy at this point. So, the idea of getting Hysteria when we were teaming with Hunter just made a lot of sense because he's just such a storied player. He actually had been sponsored by Complexity. The only time Complexity had ever been in Halo before us was in 2011 with Hysteria. They were, I think, Complexity final boss. I think it was Hysteria Best Man, Fear and Victory, or something along those lines.
Oh wow, I
Um,
had I had no idea. I thought this was their first
it was
venture
a
into
very
Halo.
it was a very brief tenure. That's like right when they stopped doing really so high. I think like Victory. I don't know if he retired or if he played throughout Reach, but they got like top 12 or something. They did like really poor for their standards, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Um,
Um. All right. So, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. So, you guys obviously had, because I think at the time you have Hunter, and I think you went to what was the first Raleigh with Hunter?
Raleigh. We went to Raleigh. So
What?
Raleigh.
Yeah. So what? How did
Raleigh's tough, man.
Yeah. So kind of briefly, I'd rather focus more on Anaheim, but can you kind of briefly,
Yeah, I'll
talk
quickly go
about
through
like
it.
what happened at Raleigh?
One, the open bracket is just it's rough, man. You can't warm up. You're on Xboxes. I've never played on Xbox before, and I'm going to be honest that HCS has done a horrible, horrible, horrible job of actually looking at the rounds and looking at the 13 game types that they're having us practice and filling out the rounds with different variations of game types.
Mm,
Like, it sounds like a very minute detail, right? In the grand scheme of things, when you're hundreds of people are flying in, there's broadcast, there's open bracket, there's pro bracket, there's talents, there's spectators, there's sponsors, and I get there's a lot going on. But like when you're having competitors practice on 13 game types, and then those competitors are devoting their lives to playing on those 13 game types, and then you're setting up the bracket and just repeating the same game types. It's an insult to the players. It's an
yeah.
insult to the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much, I mean, both series we won the first game, so we were like, no problem. Um, and then we lost a Recharge Slayer in one and a Bizarre Slayer in another. Just like just close losses, just didn't go their way. And then both game threes that we lost and both winners and losers was live fire oddball, and we lost both live fire oddballs round 3 by like 7 points.
Yeah.
So it was just like we just barely got edged out by. And the funny thing is like the teams we lost to weren't terrible. The team and winners we lost to was just it was kind of tough because they all looked like 12 years younger than me. They're
Mhm.
all like baby faces, and so they weren't known. But honestly, after playing those guys and playing them online, all those guys are just solid up and coming players.
Yeah,
So we didn't
yeah.
get beat by bad players. We just kind of got beat by unknown players, which made it
Yeah.
look really bad because we were sponsored by Cole, and our placings before Raleigh were phenomenal. We got top 12, top 16, top 16, and then top 16 again.
Mhm.
So it was embarrassing losing to those players, but like we just got edged out in a close best of 3 that didn't have different game types from each other. So
Yeah.
it was like it was a shit show, but you take the loss and you move on, and it's kind
Yeah.
of what we did leading into Anaheim. We made a roster change that we thought needed to happen, which was tough because Hunter
Mhm.
was like a really, really good friend of all of ours, and that was just a shitty fucking situation. We didn't want to do that, but we felt like we had to based off of pretty much what happened at the event.
Yeah.
Um, and
So, oh, sorry. So you guys end up you do make that change to Vetra, right? Was
we pick up Vetra.
Yeah.
We had a whole list of players we were going through.
Would you mind sharing any of those
Yeah,
names?
sure. We were looking at Huss, who ended up on Torrent. There was Vetra. There was Supressed, who got picked up by Acend. We were looking at Brainstorm, who was on the guard at Raleigh, who got top 16. Me and Triton have been friends with him for a long time, and we've teamed with him a bunch of times, so we're comfortable with him. But we didn't end up picking him up. We ended
Mhm.
up going with Vetra, who had actually beaten us in this like online Pen Halo tournament. Like his Solaris team had beaten us, and I had noticed that he was really good in that series. And then like he won the free for all rally, and then randomly Mickwin like messaged Hysteria and was like, "Yo, Vetra's a god." And we're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
okay. Yeah,
the
that's a good
Mickwin pouch
vouch.
is solid. He's really good at Infinite."
Yeah.
So we just kind of ran with him. We noticed that he was just individually disgusting and had some holes in his gameplay as far as like advanced like objective, advanced like 4v4 stuff, but kind of teaming with like seasoned players that he was, we kind of felt like we could teach him. And like
Yeah.
his hand eye is just absolutely
Unreal. Yeah.
disgusting.
No, that's a like a very solid like list of like potential pickups. So it seems like you guys had a good eye for like talent at least. And I think Vetra is still among those names. Obviously like Suppressed and Brainstorm have had like incredible results.
Suppressed
Yeah.
was arguably on paper the best player based on what ended up happening. We
Yeah.
ended up playing Exet, and he kind of destroyed us. He played
Yeah.
really well against us. He had a really good overkill against us at Anaheim.
Oh my
Actually,
god. Had you guys run games with him before?
No, it's funny because Renegade actually had been telling us to pick him up for months. Like
Oh.
before Infinite came out, Renegade's like, "Yo, this guy's really, really good. You should probably trust Renegade. He's probably got a good eye for skill." In fact, right before the roster lock for Raleigh, he told us to drop our anchor and pick him up. We were like, "Dude, we're signed to Complexity.
Yeah, it
Can't just
doesn't work
drop
like
our
that.
anchor."
Oh my gosh. All right. So you guys pick up Vetra. So it's Hysteria, Triton, you, and
Vetra.
Vetra. Yeah, sorry.
And we hit the ground running, man. We just started
Mhm.
practicing, scrimming, reviewing film, like everything. And there were so many cups, right? There was like a cup every
Yeah.
weekend, so we had
And
like plenty of practice. And
yeah, and so I know like, obviously it's so tough because we have so limited like number of lands, and this game has its issues, like we all know that, but it kind of seemed like you guys definitely had like ups and downs before leading up to Anaheim. What was what was like the team's expectations like going into Anaheim? Like what was your kind of realistic expectation?
we knew that we could beat a couple of the teams there. We knew that a lot of the teams would be tough, but we also knew that like it's LAN and you just kind of got to show up and play, and you can't really get too much in your head about what you think you can do or what you can't do. Like matchups really matter.
Yeah.
Um, but if we really really wanted to, if we thought that if we played incredible that we could potentially place top 8. We
Okay.
thought that there was potential there to make an upset to maybe place top 8. Yeah,
Gotcha. So that was your like.
that was like the goal. That's what we
Yeah.
were definitely shooting for.
Mhm.
Like top 12 is what we kind of considered you know, we wouldn't be crying about, but we wouldn't be too happy about, right? And then obviously
Yeah.
top 16 is what we would not be happy about.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel like your the chemistry was like on the team, like before
was
Anaheim and even at
It was
Anaheim?
really good. I
Yeah,
really like teaming with all those guys. I genuinely really like teaming with
Good.
all of them for their own reasons.
gotcha.
We spent a lot of time together. We practiced a lot together. You
Yeah,
know, we were sometimes at each other's throats, but Halo teams are just always at each other's throats. It's just the
yeah,
Yeah.
nature of competition. Unless you're the best player, unless you're the best team, and almost nobody is. So,
hmm
um,
yeah.
So with that, like with y'all's expectations, had you guys met your expectations or exceeded it? Does that change where you're at now today?
yeah, I do think it would because you know, I had some really hard decisions to make because I knew the reality of one, my schedule was holding the team back, and besides my schedule holding the team back, being the only one that worked full time, it was just like my energy levels just could not match everybody else. And it
Yeah.
really sucks to be a competitive player and know that you can't give what needs to be given for the team to be able to get to the next step. Even though I loved competing and I loved being signed to Cole. And then it got to me to the point where I literally had no time for myself ever.
Yeah.
And like my wife was really great about it for all things considered. The fact that I was pretty much in this hyperbolic time chamber playing Halo and working for 3 fucking months.
Yeah.
Everyone around me handled it really well, but in my heart, I was just getting more and more tired and more burnt out. And to put yourself through that and then go to the LAN and not win a game and not win a series and really fall short of your expectations, you know, it's very hard to continue to dig that deep if you're not getting results that can continue to motivate you to do.
Yeah.
Can
Oh, go
I
for
can I
it.
just jump in quickly? So you mentioned about the current state of the game. Do you feel like that maybe influenced your decision to
Not at
step
all.
away from it?
Not at
Really?
all. Yeah, I think 343 has fumbled the bag. I think that
Massively.
like yeah, I think that Infinite's not that. But that wasn't the, when you're like actually on a top team, that's really not as much of a problem because all the
Hmm.
time you're spent playing is genuine like generally scrims. So like
Hmm.
there
Yeah.
being a lack of content doesn't really affect you as much when you're a top player because you have access to consistent like games that are quality practice. You know, like if you're just trying to make it, I could see it being an absolute nightmare, right? Because
Yeah.
it's so hard to practice efficiently. Um, but being on a top team and having access to scrims all the time, that really wasn't the problem. You know,
Um, no, that makes a lot of sense. So rewinding a little bit. So you guys show up like, so the tournament starts on Friday for Anaheim. You guys show
Yeah.
up. Do you guys get like a full day of scrims when you show up?
we did.
Yeah.
Well,
So
not like a full day. I mean, we did media day like midday. I mean, Halo kids don't
yeah,
start scrimming until the second half of the day
yeah, I
anyway.
got
So we
you.
did like media halfway, and then we all got into the venue. It was super sweet that each team had their own setup, like all
Yeah.
next to each other, which was really cool. And yeah, we scrimmed like
Did
all
you
Thursday.
so obviously like we alluded to like the fact that the results aren't going to come for the team, but was there any like red flags during your scrims, or were scrims actually going all right for you guys?
I mean, we were definitely winning games in scrims. We weren't winning the series, of which was tough. We scrimmed Exet a lot. We just happened to just be I don't know, just had how it works that we just always play Exet. Even online, we played Exet a ton. So we
Yeah.
played Exet a ton at the LAN. We played Oxygen. We played Fnatic hit us up, but we were busy. SSG hit us up, but we were busy.
You play
And
G2.
Wait.
oh, we did we play?
y-
No, we
y-
played G2 in the event. I don't think we scrimmed them though.
Oh, so the announcer said like maybe this was
Oh, I think
online.
they were referring to online. Yeah, we scrimmed G2
Oh,
online.
okay. I don't even want to
The
like really bring
the
that
top
up
8
then.
yeah, the top 8 teams we scrimmed online were like E United,
Okay.
G2, and SSG. Those were the 3 of the top 8 teams.
Yeah, so
Or
they
and
made it
Exet.
sound like at the venue you guys scrimmed them and lost like 11
No,
to 2. Okay. All
it
right.
was online. That was
Okay.
online like
Yeah,
a week
and
or 2
I
before
mean
the
it's
event.
okay. Yeah, that I'm not as interested in that. Okay, so your group ended up being G2, UYU, which like I guess was incognito, and Optic. How'd you feel about like that group when you saw it?
We were very happy.
You like that group?
That was the group to be put into. We
Yeah. So
definitely
you
got the goal
guys.
that we wanted.
So with that being said, like you guys are probably thinking like, okay, most likely, unless the stars align, we're losing to Optic, but we have a chance against
We can shoot back against G2.
Yeah, we got G2, and then probably Incognito. You're like, we got that in the bag, or not quite.
Dude. Yeah, we thought we had that.
Oh, okay, so that's the mentality at least, right?
And it's not just because of looking at their names. It's because like we had beaten those dudes in literally over and over in the online cups.
Yeah.
We'd scrim them and beat them pretty bad in a scrim.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that just shows to show you that just none of that shit fucking matters.
Yeah.
Besides the point.
So how did that first? So let's start with the first series. So it's 0-3 to G2. How are you guys feeling like rebounding off that one?
We didn't like how we played on Live Fireball. That was really we didn't like how we played that. We thought we played Street Slayer and Recharge Strongholds very, very well against them. I don't know how closely you were. We only lost Streets by 4 kills and Strongholds by like 15 to 25 points. And Streets was literally an actual tragedy. They didn't show it on stream, but when it was tied 46-46, we had an A setup. Ilk just spawned C, pushed down CCRs, got the spikes, did not know I was in tires, and just double spiked tires and just killed me for free, not knowing I was there. And I'm just like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Pushed because it was a 4v3 and they beat us like 50-47 or something. And it was tied, like I said, it was just tied 46-46. He just really got a very lucky kill on me.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate. And Strongholds, we were pretty much neck and neck the whole time with them on Strongholds, and we just lost by, like I said, 25 points. So
okay, so going out of that series, it's like, oh, we lost it, but like
we didn't feel too bad.
Yeah,
no, we didn't feel too bad. We thought we held our own. We really wanted to take a game.
Yeah. And then did you guys play? I looked it up yesterday. Did you guys play Incognito next, or was it Optic next?
No, we played Optic like an hour and a half after.
Okay.
Optic, like, we weren't super unhappy with how Optic went. Like, I don't know if you saw, but like we really nearly beat them the first game, which was Street Strongholds. We lost by again like 25 points.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, we're in here. Then like the Slayer, they came out crazy hot on us. Like, we couldn't even do anything. Like, it was insane. They came out with like got 20 kills in like a minute and a half, and then we traded out for the rest of the game. But they just had this like perfect start on us.
Yeah.
And with Halo Infinite being the way it is, with like so many pickups on the map, starts are so influential.
Mm-hmm.
You get all the guns and the power ups. And then I forget what game 3 was. Oh no, game 3 was Bizarre Flag, where they outslayed us by like 40. But it was tied 0-0 for like 7 or 8 minutes. They're kind of just statting on us until eventually statting will work and you get 4 dead and you just run the flag.
Yeah. So then that like kind of leads you into like almost like a tough situation, right? Because then you guys, I feel like going into that series, you guys have the pressure.
It's kind of do or it's a little do or die.
Yeah,
we had the pressure on us for sure.
Yeah, because you guys are the big org.
Beating them online. Now we hadn't won a game. Now we had to win this series, so the pressure was on us.
Yeah. So, but were you guys still feeling pretty good? You guys are like, we're not, our game's not completely off.
No, we weren't in our heads or anything like that. We were totally ready to play.
And then obviously the series, the series doesn't go your way.
It's really unfortunate too, man, because like Hysteria had a really, really good game 1. Like, he went off and we couldn't win with him going off. And then game 2 was Recharge Slayer, and I started out this game 13-1.
Yeah.
Completely shitting. Like, I look at the score. I don't know. I was 13-1. I think we were like tied, and I was like, oh no.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead, man. I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I had a really, really like bomb start, and then I kind of started throwing in relation to everyone throwing, and I ended the game like 16-9. Still like pretty good stat line for Slayer, all things considered. Puts your team in a pretty good position to win, but we got edged. I think we lost by like 2 kills or something on Recharge Slayer or something fucking stupid. And then at that point, I was personally like a little deflated because I was just like, holy crap! Like, I was just playing perfect and we won.
Yeah.
We wouldn't count ourselves out, but we were like, crap. And then we lost like round 3 Streets Ball. We had 3 super close Streets rounds on them. I think it was a 2-1, or maybe they 2-0'd us. I don't know. I do remember one round we went up 69-0. We lost that round. So it was just, things were just not going away.
Yeah.
We were putting ourselves in positions to win, and then just having no ice to actually close out the game. So.
Yeah, speaking on that, like, so that first game, you're saying like Hysteria just goes off. If Hysteria has that performance, because he hasn't been on this team, like the stats aren't showing him as like the main Slayer on that team. So if he kind of brings in those numbers and you guys aren't winning, is that kind of like a little worrying?
Yeah, Aquarius Flag is his best game type. So we
Okay.
kind of like even at Raleigh, he would go off on Aquarius Flag. So we knew that's just his best game type. So like you can kind of count on if you think about it, it's very like arena flag based game type, which he is a god at. So it makes perfect sense for him to be
Yeah.
a really good Aquarius Flag at. Um, really good Aquarius Flag player. But so yeah, that was tough to see him go off and still be able to like lose the flag game in overtime was just like
Yeah. So you end up going down like 0-3, like we said, in groups. What'd you guys kind of like, how'd you guys recover that night? And then like, what was your kind of prep like for the next day?
I mean, we just acknowledged what we did wrong. We said, like, let's get here early, get warm up scrims, which we did. We got to the venue like early. I mean, the match wasn't until the afternoon, but we got to the venue at a pretty early time, honestly. Like, I got breakfast, got to the venue. We were warming up against Oxygen for like hours, and we literally played the losers round 1 game types over and over and over for like 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
We just scrimmed those 5 game types over and over and over.
And that was
How did it go? Did you
oh, sorry, go for it.
how did those scrims go against Oxygen?
Against it's funny because it's like this game is so game type dependent. Like on Aquarius, we literally couldn't touch them. They were just really, really good at Aquarius Flag compared to us. They were definitely winning the majority of the games. We were taking games, but they were winning the majority of the game so
Okay.
far. So
So I think if I look this up right, like the stats, like we don't have a good stats page in Halo, but I think it was Acend, right? Is your matchup?
Yeah, we played Acend.
How like I don't even remember that series. Like how did that series go?
I remember it perfectly. So it's actually really crazy because like Live Fireball, this team we always play Live Fireball. Live Fireball was round 1, and we clutch the hell. They completely choke. I'm being honest. They completely threw. They had 95. They dropped the ball to Slay, and they probably could have gotten the last 5 seconds. We killed them all. We get the ball. We make like a 70-point comeback, and we win like 100-98 the first round. And we were screaming. Actually, if you look at my profile pic on Twitter, that is me screaming at Kratos as we clutched the first round 198. I'm not even. I don't know for a fact it is, but that was the only time I screamed the whole tournament, and they got me screaming. So I feel like that's me screaming at Kratos.
Yeah.
And then the second round, I have like the hottest start to this second round. I was like 13-2 or something, just like abusing the Heatwave. Just like it was actually on stream. I was like 2-tapping them like across live fire. That's just land. And so like we had this incredible game. And like we go up a lot, but then they go up a lot, and then they get the ball, and like me and Triton make a pinch, like a 2v1 pinch. We kill the ball guy at 92. I get from 92 to 99, and they stop me at 99, and then kill Hysteria, and then kill Triton, and then kill Vetra, and they win that second round 199. And I actually distinctly remember Kratos screaming at us, "That was your one chance, and you blew it." And I was like, "Oh man." So, and then like the third round, what was funny about the third round was I knew their starting strat so well because we had scrimmed them so many times, and they never sent anyone bottom mid for Heatwave or ball. They always just sent 4 high, and I was like, usually I would just get the Heatwave and play for Slays, but I was like, wait, I can totally make a god play with the ball if they're just sending 4 high. So we spawned tower side, they spawned garage side. I just picked up the ball bottom mid and brought it to garage, knowing they were all going to push out of garage, and we ended up getting like a 40-second lead off me making that like first game play, just going straight for the ball and bringing it A, which seems like a bot play, but got us 40 seconds. And then we went up 40-0, and then we lost that round 100 to 40. We never got the ball back. So we lost game 1 that way, and it was a really tough loss to lose the second round 199 when we had already clutched the first round. It was like, oh man.
Yeah, you're just like, you have to close those out. Basically, that's what you guys are thinking.
And that's what I was saying about how the entire tournament, we had so many games right there, like in
Yeah.
our hands, literally in our hands. Actually, against every single team.
Yeah.
Optic, G2, UYU, and Xset. We just didn't ice out a game.
Yeah, and that's why like the obviously like series, you know, the series scores don't always like paint the full picture of like how close these games are and like how like what the performances are actually like. So you did end up like we know it ended up going down 0-3, and that ends your tournament run. What was like kind of like the team morale after that? And then when like had you already kind of been thinking along the lines of like it might be time for me to step away, or like when did those thoughts start entering you?
Yeah, I mean the grind up until Anaheim was killing me.
Yeah.
It was just killing me. I mean, I made it work. I made it happen, but I was just losing sleep by the day. And
Yeah.
it's just like that's something that kind of just like builds, right? Like you lose sleep one day, then you lose sleep the second day, and you're still waking up at 8 a.m. to go to work, then you lose sleep again, and then you have a tournament, then you have another tournament, then you go back to work. And so it was just really killing me. And I don't know. I only wanted to take 2 days off of work for Anaheim. So
Oh my God.
I took a red eye home on Sunday. Just like
Yeah, and you're on the
killed me.
East Coast.
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
New York, yeah. And so it was just like the combo of like the Anaheim grind killing me and like me just pushing through and then like going to Anaheim and like Anaheim itself just killing me. I was just exhausted. Like I
Yeah.
was just like the event just kicked. People don't know, but like I'm a spine patient. I had like a serious spine injury in like January 2021. Excuse me, surgery. The injury was from 2019, and so just like traveling and flying and gaming, like all that, it's just not great for my body.
Yeah.
Uh, it just really isn't. And so events just kind of kicked the crap out of me. By the end of the event, I was in a ton of pain.
Yeah. So
I
you
mean,
kind of the writing was like kind of on the wall, like for a while. Like you're like, eventually my body's not gonna let me do this.
it's just like, yeah, you can only keep the charade up for so long. And like I said, like a part of it just also is just not only me feeling like crap, but physically, but me feeling like crap mentally. That I know that again, my schedule and everything and my lack of energy is like holding everyone back. Even though, and I just want to put this out there if anyone watches this, because I heard some people talking shit saying that like I got dropped and that this was a whole ruse. Like it wasn't a ruse. Like you could probably message any player of the team on at any day on Twitter, and they would tell you the truth that I did not get dropped. Statistically, I played the best at Anaheim. Stats aren't everything. I have a play style that allows me to get better stats compared to other players, but I didn't play bad at Anaheim. I really didn't. I played pretty solid. Um, so it's not just about the gameplay. It's just like you gotta sometimes you just I feel like I've been kind of at a path, like on a path, like looking at the two different paths, like refusing to pick one or the other and just staying in the middle. And eventually you just kind of gotta walk down one of the other paths. One of the
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One.
so
Oh, go for it, Ed.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna kind of say like after Anaheim, you obviously release your statement, your tweet longer. Since then, how have you felt about your decision? I'm guessing
Really
just
great.
judging by your character, yeah. I was gonna
Yeah,
say it sounds
really,
pretty
really
positive.
great. I mean, I played in the last cup. I didn't play in the first cup after Anaheim. I played in the last cup with a couple friends. Had a great time. Um, Halo's kind of become fun again. Like Halo
Hmm.
really wasn't fun when you're getting paid and like you're not doing what you're like doing as well as you want to be doing. It's very very stressful. Um, and it's just like I already have enough stress in my life, so to take that off my shoulders was just like phenomenal. Really, I miss playing with the boys. It's been tough watching them play. I still like, I'm still supporting them and watching Triton's Twitch and watching them in tourneys and stuff and hanging out with them in Discord and whatever. Like they're still my boys, but being able to just disappear and not tell anybody
Hmm.
or make a reason
Yeah.
about it is kind of nice.
Yeah. I could only
So,
imagine.
so like Triton, he's kind of taken the kind of like in my opinion, and talking to him last week, he's kind of taken the leadership role on that team, even like when you were on there. And I know that he had like really high expectations of you guys. Like, did he make it? Did it make it more stressful with the expectations, or is that kind of a given for every team at
It,
y'all's
I
caliber of
think it's
play?
a given, but I do think it's fair to say that he definitely puts a lot of pressure, on our shoulders to perform. And it's not a bad quality. It's not like I'm upset that he does that. It's just kind of how he is. But
Yeah,
he, there's always going to be like a gradient or to a degree of how badly you want it, right? Like Triton wants it, and that's
yeah,
why I want him to make it. Is because he really, really wants it. He wants this to be his life. Like as much as I love Halo, I've loved Halo since Combat Evolved. I told you guys the story of how I went from all the way from Halo Combat Evolved to Halo Reach when I first finally started competing to now when I'm still competing. Like Halo's been a part of my life, but like for my whole life. But I would never want it to be this like my sole thing. Like I
yeah,
would never trade my career unless like listen, if you're getting paid $200,000 a year between winnings and Twitch and everything to play Halo, like all right, fine, I'll play Halo. But we know that's only like the top players, right? And so unless I were to be able to prove that I'm as good as Frosty and Renegade, which hasn't happened, then pretty hard for me to make that decision. But
Yeah.
he wants it more than anyone, and I really want him to make it more than anyone, honestly.
So you kind of answered it right there, but you never had that thought in your mind. Like, obviously you have these two kind of careers, right? You never thought about leaving I think you do social work, correct?
I'm a social worker.
Yeah. So you never thought about leaving social, like maybe at the beginning of Infinite, you're like, before the game came out, obviously, like, did you ever think that?
You know what, and this is what I alluded to, like the timing of everything. Like I got married, should know this. I got married in 2020. It got all messed up because the dates kept getting messed up because of COVID. We had like a backyard wedding and then we had like a big wedding. But like I bought my house in the beginning of this year, and I live on Long Island, which is literally one of the most expensive places to live in the country. And so to afford a house on Long Island, you really need to make a lot of money. And
Yeah.
so it's like if I was still living with my parents or something, or I had like a cheap apartment or something, like then that's one thing. But knowing the bills that I have to pay, like there's just no way unless you're literally one of the best players, which I'm not. I'm not a snake bite, so
Yeah.
if I was a snake bite, then fuck it, sure, I'll play Halo. But like,
So another thing I was wondering, so we obviously know about like the negative effects of having, a side career, like burnout, you don't have all the time in the world, but were there some like positive aspects? Because I could imagine that like you have
of being a pro Halo player.
Of having a separate career, like having something else that also occupies like, some of your time, like maybe it kind of gives you a better perspective. Or is it, or you cannot think of any?
Are you asking in relation to Halo?
Yes, correct. So as a Halo player, do you think there was any advantages that you took also having a side career?
No. There's zero.
Yeah, so it just kind of held you back.
It just completely holds you back. I don't regret my career. I don't regret all the time I spent working. I've been working full time since I graduated grad school in 2015. So I've been working full time for 7 years.
Yeah.
It's just what you got to do.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's definitely understandable.
There's no positives.
It
just only makes it harder.
Yeah. I was just wondering if with some of like the drama that happens, whether it be team changes, like if it would be easier to, you're like, whatever, man, I have a 9 to 5 that I'm going to tomorrow. Like that's kind of what matters more. But I could see like for you, it's just more like, no, it's just time. It's just burning me out. Yeah.
It's one thing that people don't realize, and so social work's not a very physical job, but it's a very mental job. And Halo's not a very physical sport; it's a very mental sport.
Oh yeah.
And to work all day dealing with people's problems and really being there for the people that you're working with, and then coming home and switching that gear to Halo is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And and it's getting on and playing matchmaking is one thing. Getting on and scrimming the best players is a whole different, right? They're showing up ready to play, and I'm kind of showing up tired. I'm showing up lethargic, you know what I mean? And it's just you only have 100% of your brain power to give on a given day. And if I've already given out fucking half of it, and then I'm showing up to scrim with half my brain, it's just not a recipe for success.
No, I think that makes total sense.
So we know you're pushed for time, so I'll make this quick. Is the book closed for you in terms of Halo? Is there any chance of you coming back in the future?
No, that's why I kind of made it a point at the end of my thing that I said I'm still gonna play for fun. Like I
Yeah.
still love playing Halo. I'm still pretty good at it. You know what I mean? It's not if Halo's like just something for me that is really fun to do. Competing is something that's really fun to do. It's never been about making money for me. It really hasn't. It's just about
Yeah.
the competition and just proving your worth and enjoying yourself. Honestly, that's just what it's been about for me. That's why I still played Halo during the dark days. You know what I mean? It wasn't about the money or the fame or the notoriety or anything of that. It was just about playing the game and enjoying the game. So I definitely will. I don't want to go to Kansas City. I definitely don't have any plans to go to KC. Orlando is September, I believe, or something around then. Yeah. So like that's perfect. Like that's like what, like that's like 6 months away, right? So like
Yeah.
6 months, I kind of get to hang out, play for fun. Like maybe in August, start taking it a little seriously, put a team together. Go. I definitely would like to go to Orlando. Orlando's always a fun event. I'll definitely still play Halo, but being expected to be on the scrim every day at 6 p.m. is probably never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one last question for you. It's kind of like a two-part. So first, have there been any discussions and maybe any desire from you to maybe step into like a coaching role?
So many people have brought that up to me, including my teammates who have been like, "Rob, we
That's-
vote for you to be our coach."
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, it makes sense, but the problem with it is it doesn't alleviate my time obligations, right? And
Yeah.
so if I'm going to be obligated to spend the same amount of time, maybe not the same amount of time, right? We'll call it even half that. If I'm going to be required to be with my team, watching them play, and then just having to like I, I've actually coached at events, and I'm just not a very good coach because I'm literally just sitting at the screen thinking about what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm such a player that if I'm going to make that type of dedication or obligation or something, I'd rather just have the controller in my hand at that point.
Yeah. I got you. Then my follow up was, if like say you did that position, right, or maybe even more of a managerial position for Complexity.
Yeah.
What's your I'll let you take it any direction you want. What do you do to kind of fix some of the issues that might be happening?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Feel free to avoid that question if you need to for friendship's sake. I don't mind.
Listen, we've all spent dozens of hours, talking to each other about what we think needs to happen. Halo this is why we love it, an extraordinarily complex game at the high 4v4 level. The decisions that you make, there are so many like variables and factors that are constantly happening, because the cool thing about Halo is that there's 7 other players in the map, and all 7 players' decisions will constantly affect what makes your decision either right or wrong, right? So like that's why we love Halo, right? Because it's like such a complex game of chess. Um, People have habits, people have tendencies. I had bad habits, I had bad tendencies that were pointed out, and it's like real in my opinion, it's really about like constantly breaking those down to not what you want to do in the game, but like what's the best play to do in the game, right? Every player on that team has habits and tendencies that may not be completely matched up to the meta. Triton does, Vetra does, Sari does, and I did. So it's just, in my opinion, about really like trying to really like identify what exactly are those plays that you're making repeatedly that you kind of seem to think is the right play, but in reality is not the right play, and then finding out what is the right play is even the harder part.
Yeah. No, I like that answer. Anything from you, Posey? Any last questions?
No, not really. For me, I just want to take the time to say thank you for joining the podcast and taking time out of your day to come share some of your experience from your with your Halo Infinite with us, and with our community and everything, and just say we appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you competing later on when you find time for it.
Appreciate that. No, it was fun to come on. I always kind of wish I had a chance to kind of tell my story, so this was kind of helped me out a little bit too.
Yeah, can we get
Feel free
a
to come back anytime.
Yeah, can we get a we don't have to sign a contract, but can we just get a confirmation that you'll be back on?
I'll come back on.
All
I'm
right,
down.
all right, great.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for your time, Rob. Like we said, we really appreciate it.
No problem, man. It was nice to meet you guys, and thanks for the invite, Posey.
Yes, sir. Well,
Much love to Complexity. The organization was phenomenal, by the way. Working with them was like awesome. Like those guys are just incredible. Like they're really professional. Like they really get esports. Shout out to Triton, Vetra, and Hysteria. I really love those guys. I wish that we were able to more kind of reach what we wanted to reach in Anaheim, but that's life sometimes. And thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, man.
No
Enjoy your time
worries.
with your family.
thank you.
Guys.
All right, let me make sure. Okay, we're still looking good. I'm not gonna mess with the overlay too much. All right, let's just get into it. So I think that interview was really good.
Are we cutting this part or are we keep it rolling? I'm happy to keep it rolling.
Yeah, let's just keep it roll. I mean, let's just keep it rolling. I don't really want to edit, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine,
I'd
that's
rather
fine.
just straight up upload it. So if people are
Yeah.
hearing this part, sorry, there's a live show, and
Just for the viewers, we're gonna move on now to some of the stuff that's been going on in the past week or so.
yeah,
Obviously the Open, the Supers, and then just some general roster moves.
yep.
That have been going on. Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so I
Toby?
really wanted to get Rob's opinion on some of these roster changes, and I kind of gave him the easier question. I was going to ask him if he
Yeah, I was tempted to as well.
I wanted to ask him if he
Oh,
thought
yeah.
a roster change was needed for complexity, but I was like, I don't want to put him in that spot. But anyways, yeah, let's go. So I don't think we even covered. So let's just start with HCS Open for NA region. I think they might have been the only ones that had an Open like this last week, because the other ones had the Super events, which we'll get to. So we had the 8 teams that made it to the final bracket or whatever. So we had E United, Acend, Fnatic, G2, ESA Red, ESA Blue, Oxygen Esports, and Notorious. The event ended with a grand finals between E United and Acend, with E United coming out on top, which I think we all can, I think it would have been more worrying if Acend or if E United didn't win this event. So a 3-0 in the grand finals. Any thoughts on the performances of, like, let's just say those two teams, Acend and E United?
Not really for me.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
really.
kind
I
of
think-
for me, it's
I think,
kind of like
Expected.
kind of expected.
Yeah, that's what's unfortunate about when you're at one of these, like, when you have good results as a team, it just makes the expectations like that much higher. So I think we expected it, like, out of these two guys. I think Acend played pretty well. I think they had some closer series. I could be completely wrong. I was trying to catch games when I could, but nonetheless, they faced E United. I mean, even losing 3-0 to E United, like, that's a solid squad. The teams,
I think maybe you could make a point that maybe Acend could have taken one map off them, but other than that, just because I think Supressed and Suspect are probably two of the better amateur players right now.
I mean, well,
they're really good.
Yeah, well, they are, like, I know you just, like, didn't mean it like that way, but they are pro. But, like, I know what you're saying, like, as far as, like,
not partnered. I mean,
not partnered. Yeah, exactly. But dude, they're so good. It's crazy. And I know the sentiment in the first of all, the sentiment is that Kratos the worst person in Halo, and so everybody's always, like, going for his, everybody wants to him to get dropped off that team. I feel like that's a general, like, sentiment, but I don't know if what his role is on the team, but he's obviously doing something. Like, his stats aren't great, but, like, Suspector keeps playing with him, and
I think when it comes to LAN, he's quite a key piece in terms of energy.
Yeah.
I think that's what he provides. I think Spartan's quite similar, but obviously Spartan provides a lot in terms of, like, slays and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's almost his role. Keep kind of like the vibes going, keep them pushing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure other than that.
Yeah, but dude, the way Suspector and Suppressed play, I'm glad that Suppressed got landed on a good team, because, I mean, obviously some of the pros were scouting, as we found out in with the RobTheTurtle interview. But when I saw him, I think I saw him randomly in matchmaking play against, like, Ace and Tylenol one time, and I was like, who is this guy? And then he ended up, like, on, like, a top 16 team, and it's cool to see him get a shot and definitely make the most of it. That team's been, like, nothing but impressive. I really feel like the only real big storyline out of that was out of this Open was G1 failing to make it into the top 8. Are we worried about that, or is this what's going on with G1?
Yeah, for me, I think it's just like some of these teams that are not making it right now are a lot of the teams that are kind of going through a roster change.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's kind of, I think it'd be something more to talk about it if they were making it top 8 and even winning the event, like, with the new roster, as opposed to, like, them not making it with roster changes. So for me personally, I don't see no signs of danger, or, like, no signs of concern for them. Like they're just gonna have to. They're going through a stage right now. It's kind of like a rebuild stage. Like it's always not a good year, good couple games after you start adding new faces to a team, and then
Yeah.
once you build that chemistry, it kind of picks back up where it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is definitely the time that, if you are having those troubles, this is the time to have them.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think we're enough out of Kansas City that you can make some strides. So that pretty much covers it for open. Like we said, it wasn't too eventful. Let's go over to the HCS, ANZ, and MX regions. So in the ANZ region, pretty much business as usual. We had Chiefs coming out on top. I think it was just a 3-0. I don't even know if they. I think you were more in tune with this, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, from what I know, I'm pretty sure they didn't drop a map the whole tournament, which is crazy to me. Barcode obviously is the best player in the ANZ region. He averaged a 1.74 KD the whole tournament, which is practically unheard of. And I think it was something like all 4 members were in the top 10 top 10 Slayer categories. Which when that's happening, I don't think many teams can even compete with that really yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also means their spot is confirmed in pool play for Kansas City, so that'll be interesting. I do kind of want to just throw a question to you about that. And I think we'll talk about Acend as well in a bit. Where do you see them kind of internationally? Do you see Chiefs as a top 12 team going forward?
I'll let you go first, Posey.
As far as like when they come to Kansas City and play against North America, yeah, I mean, I definitely think if anything with Raleigh, it kind of showed that a lot of these European teams and ANZ and Mexican teams, if they get to come this time, like they're getting better, and they're getting to the point to where I feel like they're matching North America's play style and stuff. So I feel like I I wouldn't say it's out of the question. And it just for me, like I could feel like I could probably answer it better, have a better, opinion on it if I knew all the NA teams that they were going to be facing compared to just now speculating. Because, and I think like Rob kind of elaborated on in his interview was like matchups are very important in this game, and like
Yeah.
depending on who they might, if they get a crappy bracket and they match like Cloud9 or Optic first or second round, like I don't think they're gonna have a good placing after that. But I definitely think they're making strides to definitely compete for top 12 placements, if not higher.
I think their goal should be top 12. I don't know if I see them top 12. I don't think they had the best performance in Raleigh. And man, this top 12 in NA is really, really good. That's what gives me the most like hesitancy is just how strong and how like volatile it is in NA. And it's not volatile because the teams are underperforming. It's because like at any given moment, like they just have a solid top. I'd say a top like no, top 12 is probably like where it starts to thin out a little bit as far as like how the caliber. But in NA, those top 12 teams are really, really good. So I don't really, honestly, I don't really see them as a top 12. I think with the right bracket, they could. But in general, I don't really place them.
I agree with it, and I think Barco might have touched on it in some previous week. That kind of their play style isn't currently same as NA play style. That was obviously I think it was about a month ago. So it will be interesting to see if that changes.
Yeah, and another thing, just to like, I'll just make it brief, but you can't like, how can that team evolve when they're just beating up on the competition over and over again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So I'll go for it.
For me, like just to kind of elaborate a little bit on this, like I feel like you can put any top 12 team from North America over there and they're gonna dominate. I don't think you can take any top 3 team from over there and put them in North America and they have the same results.
Yeah, I'd say that if you take the 12th best team in NA and you put them over there, they're easily getting second. They might have a tough time beating the Chiefs, but that's it. I don't think Divine Minds is really I don't think they're on the same level, even though they're the second best in that region.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so moving on to Mexico. I think it's still currently going on, right?
it is.
Yeah,
I don't
think they finished up today.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't even know where they stopped yesterday because I kind of caught it late, and I don't know if they were finishing up, but it did look like the winners matchup was going to be Timber Esports versus Pittsburgh Knights again. So, and I imagine it's going to play out pretty much the same way. With
in my opinion, it's just gonna be more of the same.
Yeah, me
They both
too.
came out their pools with a 3-0.
And
So yeah, I think it'll be.
I'm a little bit high on Pittsburgh Knights. Are you guys feeling the same thing, or no? Is that just me? Am I just crazy on that?
I mean, I think they're definitely a good team. What I
Yeah.
want to see is I'd love for, because we're not too sure right now whether the winner of this gets spot in Kansas City pools. I think they do.
Yeah,
I would have thought they did.
I would assume they do. My only reason for pause is I saw an infographic from HCS that was a little bit yeah, it didn't really say that they did. And then my only thing is too, I never know day to day with like the COVID restrictions, because I don't really know why they didn't come the first time. I mean, I know it was because of COVID and visa issues, but I'm like, did those issues get solved? So I mean, I have seen, the thing is though, I have seen them scrimming NA teams recently.
Yeah, so to clear this up for all of us, like right now there's 8 teams from North America that's in there, and then EU Super, like from the EU Super, they'll have 4 teams. MX Super will have 3 teams. Then AZ will have, well, the Chiefs are there, so they got 1 team, and then there'll be 1, 2, 4 teams that'll be able to make it through open bracket.
That seems like a big number for the MX region.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I think NA should at least have 10.
Yeah, I think even ANZ should have 2 probably.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not sure how the maths will work out with
that.
Yeah,
but I mean, also I'm not like, it's not that big a deal because most of the NA teams, like, you can still, if you're the 12th best team, like, you can get over to Kansas City.
Like, essentially, like, they're leaving 4 spots open for anybody in the world to get there. So it's like, kind of like, I kind of like the format. I think it's kind of, for the most part, like, I think the MX is maybe a little, like, I think maybe they should just have 2, but
yeah,
I mean, honestly, I kind of like it because I mean, it gives room for upsets and storylines.
Yeah. Okay, let's. So we kind of touched on that. Shout out to those teams. I did see the ANZ boys popping bottles after their victory, so that's cool to see. I'm glad they're enjoying it. Let's get over to roster moves, and we'll kind of. I think we've been going about an hour now, so we'll go through like.
Yeah, we'll try and fly through it a bit.
Yeah, but I do want to touch on like these roster moves. So, Complexity announced that they are trialing people. So they did play. So we kind of thought Carmea was a shoe-in, but we did see them screaming with Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Carmea. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just say. Go ahead. No.
You.
I was say they played with Carmea, Monster, and I think I watched the other day, and I think they were playing with Brainstorm, maybe.
Oh, okay. Who was Brainstorm with?
I'd have to look back.
Yeah, no, it's all good. That'll be another thing, but and I think honestly, overall, I think that's a good move. I don't think they should just jump into having like the 4th. But that being said, I did see Carmea post that he's looking for a team for Kansas City. So I don't know if that was like spite, but I do respect the fact that he's keeping his options open too, if like they're not gonna commit to playing with him. I was gonna ask Rob, but I still don't think I think this team needs another roster change. So I would like to see them have Carmea and also pick up one of the other guys that they're talking about. Whether it be Monster or Brainstorm, I don't think it really.
Who are they getting rid of to pick up that second person?
Hysteria. I think it's time, man. Like, he's a legend, but legends legends fade into the background at some point. And I think at the very least everybody has like a lot of respect for Hysteria. I don't think anybody's like, hey, this guy's in his prime, you know?
Yeah. Maybe you could transition to coach.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, and I don't think it. I honestly, it's crazy to me that I know Rob had other reasons, but it's crazy to me that Rob's like, hey, I'm not performing my best for the team. I can't give it my all, and like Hysteria is not asking himself the same thing or doing that for his. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just like, dude. At some point, if your team's not gonna make that move, like, you need to have like a real conversation with yourself and be, you know, are you performing up to like complexity standard? You know, there's a giant org, so that's just my perspective. So let's move over to SSG. So this happened about a week or two ago, and I haven't seen anything since, but they were playing with Rami and Collect. I mean, I don't know if the team's still intact, but of ESA Red. So
from what I heard, that whole team's like completely breaking up.
Yes, that's kind of the vibe I got, because I think we'll touch on it in a bit, but Bomex was actually playing with another team as well. But so what are your guys' thoughts on that? Are we up or down on this team?
I kind of like the move with SSG if they stick with Rami and Collect. I think both of those players are really good, and I think depending, I mean, honestly, like, I don't know who SSG is replacing them for. I didn't really catch that or pay much attention to it, but I think added them two on there with Ace. I assume Ace is more likely going to stay on there.
They did announce it right after the tourney, so they dropped Zion
and Flazen.
And Flazen.
Okay, so yeah, I think Ace and Tylenol is like, I think they're a good duo, and I think adding these two would, I think it dramatically helps them skill wise, on paper at least. You know, whether they click or not, like chemistry and, like, you know, their play styles, like, you know, that just be time will tell on that one. But as far as on paper, I think it's a solid pickup for them.
Yeah. This team, I mean, that ESA Red team had some magic in them. We saw that they were the best performing team out of those three, you know, kind of more amateur teams. Yeah, that came into Anaheim. So there was obviously something that was working with that team. I like the fact that they're bringing in like a duo rather than just bringing like one person, because, you know, you have to assume that Rami and Collect have some good chemistry. But yeah, so I think it's good. I'd like to see them maybe run some other people, but I think that's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, because I know we're trying to move on. I feel like recently there's been almost a trend of picking up like younger talent instead of more experienced talent, which, to be honest, I quite like. I mean, I'm pretty young myself. I like the idea of new talent coming in and kind of making a name for yourself, and I think these two are a really good duo.
Yeah.
And I think balance with kind of two more experienced players, I think this SSG roster is probably going to improve from what it used to be.
Yeah, the thing is, the one thing I'll add on to that is that they did set the bar so low that it's almost like they have to improve. But
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, but I mean, but I agree. I think there should be more focus on like developing younger talent rather than, you know, kind of picking up people that already have like these established names. So one of the teams we kind of like knew was already forming, or like a change that we already knew was forming, actually made it official with a signing. So Tony Two-Turnt signs with G1. Good pickup by G1, or?
Yeah, I mean, they're currently, as we talked about earlier, they're in a bit of a learning curve period, where they're underperforming right now, but they're just getting used to the changes. And I know how much Tony can bring to the team. He's a pretty good player in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think this is another improvement for me, and for me at least. But I think you just gotta give it time to just see what happens.
Yeah, and this could be a 100% different team on land too, so we don't really know. It isn't the best sign when they sign you, and I don't remember the order of events, but then you fail to make it into the top 8 of the open, you know. Yeah. But like we're saying, you know, maybe with some time they'll bounce back. I think we at least expect him to be a top 16 team.
Definitely. I think with an org like G1, you have to be.
So on to the next one. So Swish no longer on Oxygen Esports. And Oxygen is currently playing with Joey Cherished. So we still haven't really got the full answer of what happened. I like was telling you guys that I was kind of in Swish's stream, and it kind of seems he was alluding to the fact that he was dropped. But again, it was real vague, and he was like doing that on purpose. So we don't really have those answers. But that aside, like with the Joey Cherish pickup, like what are we thinking of Oxygen Esports? I like that pause.
Yeah, for me, like I don't know, like I was kind of shocked by the Swish drop, to be honest. So like I didn't think that, from my opinion, I don't feel like he was the one that needed to be dropped or like needed to be changed. So me personally, I don't feel like I don't feel like Cherish is gonna fill the role that Swish was. But like we don't know, if it was like because how he was performing or what ultimately led to the dismissal of him on that. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. To be real, like I don't know much about Cherished or anything.
No, with Cherished aside, it's the Swish drop is kind of interesting. Also in his stream, he was I kind of asked him about what are some of the reasons he thought of the poor performance, because they were another team that went. I think they did end up winning a series.
Yeah,
but I mean, at that point, like, is that big of a difference for them? But yeah, so they won one series at Anaheim, and I think Swish was the best performing on the team if you're just looking at stats wise. But he was kind of making it seem like the team had motivation issues, So
yeah.
For me, it'd be weird if maybe that's his perspective, but that they drop him for those reasons or whatever. So I don't think it was necessarily the best move. I think that team needed a change, and I think it was more than just one person. And I don't really like the persona that team puts out, like, oh yeah, like we're still in the. I'm like, dude, you guys have had like a really good org, and it's like you guys haven't had any decent results. I think you guys might have got top 8 in one online tournament, and it's both lands struggle, and you guys think changing one person is going to be like enough. Like, I don't know, that, like, to me it's kind of crazy. I'd kind of rather see them just go like a little bit more radio silent and just work out whatever is going on. Like, maybe they don't need to pick somebody else up, and we obviously don't see all the scrims, but I honestly don't think it's enough. And I don't really know much about Joey Cherish, but I mean, hopefully that's a good pickup for them. Okay, so BBG was one of the, I think it was like pretty close to after Anaheim, they announced that they transferred Nebula to Black Hand, which was a very, very strange transfer. And it looked like they were scrimming with Bomex, which I think is definitely a good good player. He actually, I think he was pretty underrated in Halo 5. And he was also part of that ESA Red team that had some magic. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, go ahead, Ed.
I was just gonna say, I think this has potential to be one of the better roster moves. Purely based on, I feel like Bomex is a pretty well-rounded player. I feel like his weaknesses in this game aren't as drastic as some other players. So I think if he wants to, and if he puts in enough work, he can be the glue that holds this team together. I know they had pretty poor run of results, leading up to the roster change. I think they didn't qualify for Anaheim in general, did they?
No.
Yeah.
And they were the number 1 seed too.
Yeah, they were yeah. So it's understandable why they made a roster move.
Yeah.
In terms of Nebula going to Blackhand, it's a bit of a strange roster move for me because, no offense to Blackhand, but I think BBG are a bit more established. But yeah, I think it's a good roster move in total. What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what you said. And I really don't have much else to kind of put in there with that. So.
No, that sounds perfect. So this is the last thing for me, and then if you guys have anything else you want to throw in, but our boy, Wonder Boy, Coach and Navi. I'll start. Like, I honestly, I'm not entwined enough with the pro scene to really know the ins and outs of like what coaches bring to the team. You know, like I still think Cloud9 would be the best team if they didn't have Hoaxer, and I'm not dissing it at all. I just don't really put. Obviously they help, but it was just more like I think it's cool for Wonder Boy to get this opportunity. Hopefully he helps that team because they haven't gotten the results that they've wanted. But what do you guys have any thoughts on this?
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean I'm ecstatic for him. Like and I kind of like you. I don't know if it's enough to push them to push them to where they want to be with taking Acend down. But I think it can be very beneficial, especially if they didn't have a coach beforehand. And maybe that's something they were lacking, missing power up calls or power up weapon calls, or like missing when to rotate to get set up for that stuff. So um, but I think overall I think it'll be good for him.
Yeah, me too. I think kind of this move seems like they're trying to close the gap on Acend. A little bit. They're trying to almost increase their like firepower as much as possible to try and catch up, because obviously Acend are running away with it right now.
Yeah.
But I like it in general. I think a coach at least elevate it's what I'm on about. It gets rid of some of the pressure on the players' shoulders. But yeah, I think it's a good change.
Yeah, me as well. Okay, so I said that was the last thing for me, but I did want to bring up one more thing because I went through and asked. So 2 of the players on Acend had an AMA, and I asked them internationally. I said a top 10. I was like, "Do you guys see yourself in the top 10?" And they said internationally, they believe they're like a top 8 team. Keep it as short or as long as you guys want, but agree or disagree?
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think they kind of proved that they can compete. I think they had a really good event at Raleigh, and I think they've gotten better since then. I think we've talked about this before. I think if they can come over to North America ahead of time before the event starts and get some practice against North America teams and get kind of used to that style and like kind of adjust where it needs to be adjusted, I definitely think you'll see a really good placing out of them.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think top 8 from what I've seen, I think they are top 8. I kind of mentioned when we were talking before the show that I could see them if they had a good bracket and if they were on form, like playing their best. I could see them kind of around where KCP are. I think KCP would like the 5th, 6th area.
Mhm.
If Ascend are running on all cylinders, I could definitely see them do that. And I think it's just good that there's a team from another region that we're kind of considering in this spot. It's just nice to see a little change up,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd say they can definitely be in that like 7th, 8th spot. I'd also say that there's a chance that some of these like our top 12 teams, the like 10 through 12 teams can give them like some tough matchups. So I feel like those would be close games, and it just depend on how they play out. But I could see that. I was mentioning to you, Ed, I kind of wish they would have just came out and been like, yeah, we're in the top 3 for sure, undoubted, but it was still cool for them to answer that. So I think that wraps it up for our topics, unless you guys have anything.
Nah, I'm good.
No?
Good.
All right, that's pretty much it then. Thank you guys for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe.